no matter what it is that you're going through today, there is help available out there. There are people like me and Justin and so many other people that are involved in these different organizations, not just ours, but so many great ones in the Tennessee area. You don't have to go through anything alone.
Mm-hmm.
All you have to do is reach out.
Blessings, folks. Welcome back to another episode of the Hitstreak. I'm your man, Nick Hyder. And folks, it's a little extra bright in the Hit Lab today because I got a double dose of awesome sitting across from me today. And I just got to tell you, this story that we're about to uncover a little bit today is absolutely incredible. It's not a new story. They've been doing this for a minute. It's new to me and many of you, but it's a story that you all need to know, right? So let me kick this off by just introducing each of these gentlemen one by one. And so check it out. This guy right here is the founder and chief operating officer of Hustle Recovery, Troy Sandifer. Troy, thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me, Nick. It's a wonderful place you got here, man.
Well, I appreciate it, brother. We ready to have some fun, Troy?
Yes, sir. We're ready.
And last but not least, the founder of Smiles for Recovery, the man himself, Justin Lowry. Justin, how we doing, baby?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having us today. And I'm the co-founder. Let's clean that up. Dr. Aaron Pryor couldn't be here today, so we're excited to be here. This place is fantastic. The names on the walls, I recognize so many, and it's a privilege to be here.
Well, let's freaking go, man. You know what? First hit of the day right there. So, you guys are a rare breed in the fact that the lives that you're changing and the stuff you're doing for the community is huge. And I recognize that you haven't done a lot of platforms like this one right here, right? So my goal in the beginning is to make sure that we have a whole lot of fun, because it seems like that's when people are the most open to new information, when they're having a good time.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So and fellas, even as we're rocking and rolling, if you feel like you can't hear yourself very good, keep that microphone with you. We're gonna have some fun, baby. So you guys do a joint thing in Smiles for Recovery, right? So, Justin, you're like, and I found out today that we worked together in the past. I didn't even realize that. That was unbelievable.
22 years ago.
Man. And both of your individual stories we're going to cover those, but talk to me a little bit about what you guys are doing together and the way you painted the picture of Troy and his journey backstage. It literally brought, all the emotions were flowing, right? So tell me what's in it for this? Like, you guys are doing some life-changing stuff.
Yeah. So I got sober 3.5 years ago, and I actually met Troy about 2.5 years ago at a meeting, and I watched him pick up a 3-year chip, and I didn't really know how I would become, of service to the next alcoholic that needed help. And I got to see an example of Troy and the way that he lived his life, and the story that he shared in that meeting really impacted me to be able to just have an idea to help. And that idea grew into, to this day, 5 million in free smiles and over 300 patients served in Nashville and in Tennessee. So the real hero here is Troy, and he's been a great mentor to me, and he's a part of my board of directors. Just really a champion for what we're doing. And it's crazy. We started this in April of 23, doing, singles and smaller level implants. And Troy was patient number 1 for us for full arch. So that means we took all of his teeth out. We put in 10 to 12 implants, and he went on a journey with us for the past year in his recovery. So kind of want to flip it to him and let him tell his story, because it's pretty impactful, and it's important for the public to know what he's doing and to get the message out. And if you want to be a part of it, volunteer, fund, help raise awareness for what he's doing, because he truly is a hero from Nashville.
Yeah.
So
there's, out of the 3 of us that are talking on camera today, I have the worst smile in the building. All right. And
we can fix that.
and it's crazy too. Quick, fun little story that's totally off topic, but I went to, it was about 2 weeks after I got my braces off. I'm 17 years old. I'm playing a baseball game, and the collision at home plate, front teeth get knocked out, right? Mama cried. They're bonded still to this day. But because of that, I didn't wear my retainers after braces. So bottom bad, overbite's bad. It's something that I'm a little bit self-conscious about. You know what I'm saying? And it's something that we've talked about doing a lot of different times. So I haven't, my teeth are amazing compared to the people that you guys are helping and working with for the most part, right? So that's the kind of the thing I want to get to is like, so Troy, you got a beautiful looking set over there, baby. I mean, it's really, really good. But so talk about your story a little bit. Go and let's get behind the scenes in that. Let's unpack that. But then, what did they look like before they looked like that?
They were pretty rough. Yeah, I'd been using methamphetamines for about 3 years, which absolutely destroyed my teeth.
Yep.
Once I got clean and sober, they absolutely started falling apart. So, yeah, these guys did a wonderful service for me, and that's why I try to support them in any way that I can, because I've watched them impact. I think you did, 25 clients of mine last year?
In one day.
Yeah.
In one day.
Between clients and staff, so.
Wow. Yeah. All right. So let's unpack Hustle Recovery then. All right, because that's what you're saying. You're saying that Smiles for Recovery was helping your clients. Let's talk about who those clients are and what Hustle Recovery does.
Yeah. So
go back to day one.
I will. My recovery journey started on September the 20th of 2019. At about 7 o'clock in the evening on a Friday evening, the Rutherford County Police, or Rutherford County Sheriff's Department and Murfreesboro Police Department kicked my front door in. Wow. They came in with about 25 agents in full riot gear with machine guns, screaming to get on the ground. And it was the end to a years-long investigation into my drug activities.
Okay.
That night I was incarcerated. I spent 68 days in the Rutherford County Jail. I was sitting there trying to make a bond of $110,000. I was caught red-handed with a quarter pound of meth and several firearms, one of which was stolen. I'd never been in trouble in my life before that night, but that night I earned myself 6 felonies, which I'm still serving a sentence on today.
Really?
Yes, sir. So I sat there 68 days, talking to my mom, bless her heart, every day, like, man, if you'll just come and get me, I'll straighten up. And she would tell me every day, I'm not coming to get you until you go to rehab. And of course, every day I'd say, hey, I'll go today. And she'd say, no, you're not ready yet. And she'd hang up on me. On day 65, she decided that she would come and get me. It took me 3 days to go to do a source hearing. That way they could see where the funds from my bond were coming from. I kept my promise to my mom and I went to rehab. I attended an IOP program in South Arkansas, where I'm from, because at that time I did not have health insurance and I didn't know how to navigate the treatment
No doubt.
system here in Tennessee. So I had one friend that I grew up with that worked in a facility in South Arkansas who was able to get me in on a grant. That facility isn't really where I got clean, sober. It was actually in the rooms of AA, in particular, a place called The Open Door.
Wow.
I walked to a meeting there twice a day. I did 180 meetings in the first 90 days on top of an IOP program and seeing a therapist. In February of 2020, I graduated that program and I moved back to Nashville. When I got back to Nashville, I was homeless. I did not have a job. I didn't have a vehicle. I didn't have a bank account. I was literally starting from nothing.
How old were you at this time?
This was in 2020, so I was 40.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So that puts things in perspective for people right there.
Yeah. I spent 3 years in heavy addiction. Before that, I owned a construction company and did pretty well. Most of my addiction started after my divorce in 2016. The drugs were kind of a solution to the things that I was dealing with, the loneliness, the depression, the things that I was going through, with that, the the drugs that I was doing made me feel better about me. You know, and when I had a pocket full of drugs and money, a lot of people came around and I was popular again. So anyway, so I get back to town, and I've been self-employed since I was 18 years old. So real quickly, I was able to get back on my feet.
Did you have a choice to be self-employed versus not? Is there like, because I mean, you probably weren't real hireable at that moment.
Oh, at that moment, I definitely wasn't very hireable.
You didn't have a whole lot of choice, did you?
Well, I hadn't been convicted yet. So
Okay.
I was able to go back to work for a company I'd been a subcontractor for 20 years off and on, Window World. And I went back to work for them as a sales rep, and I did really well. I was the number one sales rep in the state of Tennessee the last 2 years I was with them. So real quickly, I was able to kind of get my life back together. I got an apartment, and I got a car, and I opened a bank account. And I was kind of putting my life back together, waiting to go to trial in October. And on May the 1st of 2020, I woke up to a phone call that morning from a friend of mine's mother, Miss Judy, to tell me that one of my best friends, Josh Barley, had died of a fentanyl overdose that morning. I remember just sitting in my bed crying uncontrollably and just feeling like, man, I need to do something. I didn't know exactly what to do. So what I did is I put a post on Facebook that basically said, look, man, if you're struggling with this, you don't have to die. There are people out here who will help you. And I knew that because some folks that I didn't know had just helped me.
Right.
Excuse me.
It's all right.
And I said, look, if you don't know where to find help, here's my number. Call me. Nick, I had absolutely no plan of what I would do when these people called.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I didn't even know if anybody would call. I actually only had a few of my friends in mind whenever I put that post up who I knew were still using.
Okay.
About 20 days later, I get the first calls. First day, I get 6 calls, all the same, people I'd never met in my life who said, hey, a friend of mine shared this post on Facebook, says you can get people into rehab. And I remember looking at my phone going, where the heck did I say that? Because I had absolutely no clue how to get people into treatment. I remember going to bed that night really down on myself, and I remember praying to God and just saying, Lord, I've really put my foot in my mouth this time. I have no clue how to help these people. They all want to go to treatment, and I barely got myself into treatment. So I prayed about it. I went to bed, and when I woke up the next morning, I knew what I had to do. I had to teach myself how to get people into treatment. So I basically sat at my kitchen table with my iPhone and a notebook and a pen, and I just started Googling treatment facilities in a 200-mile radius of Nashville.
Okay.
And I would call these facilities as they popped up on Google, and I would say, hi, my name is Troy, and I'm a recovering addict, and I'm sick of watching these people die. Could you please tell me how to get people into your treatment facility? Fast forward 4.5 years to today, Hustle Recovery now works with over 50 different treatment facilities and over 100 different sober living houses. We've been able to connect over 5,200 people to treatment in the last 3.5 years since we started tracking it.
Wow.
Through doing that work, I avoided prison. My first offer from the DA was 24 years at 60%. By the time
In jail.
in prison, yes,
prison.
Yeah.
All right.
My attorney had actually called me, a wonderful guy named Joey Fuson, who's a partner of mine today, called me and said, look, man, you might as well get your mind right because you're going to have to do some time. And I'd made peace with that, and I made the decision that I was going to try to help as many people as I could until I went to prison. So in October, we go to the trial readiness hearing, the hearing you have right before you start your trial proceedings. And somehow the DA had caught wind of what I was doing. At that point, I'd gotten 33 people into treatment, and every time I would get someone into treatment, I would take a selfie with them. I'd post it on Facebook, and I'd say, congratulations, Nick or Justin, on a decision to change your life. Thank you to whatever facility had helped me get them into treatment. And then I would say, if you or somebody you know is struggling with addiction, just know there's help out there. Here's my number. If no one told you today, I love you, I believe in you, and God's going to see you through this. And when I got to court that day, she had all 33 of those posts printed on a separate piece of paper and spread across a desk. And that day they offered me 16 years on community corrections, which is really intense probation. And I've walked 4 of those years down, and I have 12 years left.
Wow. I want to thank all of our loyal fans that spread across all 50 states and 14 different countries. It's absolutely amazing. Folks, help us keep spreading the word, right? Share your favorite episodes with friends and make sure that you are liking and subscribing to the Hitstreak on all digital platforms. Thanks again, and we look forward to more. So first of all, like, you don't hear a lot of stories about the legal system making the right decision like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because look at all the people that wouldn't be here today if you were in prison rotting away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, that's encouraging. Like, you don't hear that very often, do you?
No, sir, you don't.
And you didn't even ask for it.
I didn't. I was very blessed. God was definitely looking out for me. And like the DA said that day, she said, I mean, her exact statement was, I think you're going to do more good out here than you will in there. So she gave me an opportunity, and I'm forever grateful for it.
I don't know who the DA is or what her history is, but it sounds like she made one really good decision.
Yeah, I think so.
You know what I
like
mean?
to think so for sure.
Well, that's, and again, she took a risk because you got to prove her right for 16 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's incredible, man.
We're working on a pardon for him at some point.
No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding.
That's my campaign here.
Yeah.
Pardon.
We'll see.
Well, like, so hustle recovery, you're helping people get people in. So like, you got to live. Okay. You got to live. And so where's like, how do you get paid?
Well, so that's where it started.
Okay.
Today we have a huge variety of programs that we offer people. We just started out in the back of my car, just myself and a couple of my friends, just helping people get into treatment centers.
I think I asked Dr. Steven the same thing. Like, how do you fund something like this?
Yeah. So at first it was just funded out of my pocket. I did very well selling windows, and I put about 70% of my income back into helping people get into treatment.
So you were selling windows the whole time you're doing this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, for the first 2 years of hustle recovery, I was still working as a full-time salesman. I think in the first year is when we opened the first sober living house. And I just happened to meet a guy who's a mutual friend of mine and his, who said, hey, man, I want to buy you some houses. I'll take you to dinner on Saturday and we'll talk about it. And I'm like, who the hell is out here buying people houses? I've never heard that in my life, you know. Today we have 12 properties. We provide housing for over 100 individuals who are in early recovery. We started first with just one sober living house down the road from here off of Bell Road in Antioch that housed 10 men. In the first year, I didn't see a whole lot of people stay clean and sober, to be honest. I remember having lunch at the end of that first year with my COO and my partner, John Hughes, and us just talking about, like, man, are we really helping these people? Why aren't they staying clean and sober? And John's actually who suggested it. He said, man, why don't we just take this back to our roots? And I was like, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, what is hustle recovery at its roots? And what we are is an organization that knocks down barriers to recovery. Okay. And I said, okay, so elaborate on that. What do you mean by that? And he said, well, let's just look at it. What do people need in early recovery? Well, first thing you need is a job. Mm-hmm. You need some programming. You need a sponsor. You need a place to lay your head. And I said, okay, so let's start with the job. What do people need to get back to work? And you know, first they need to know how to ask for a job. Second of all, they need transportation back and forth. Mm-hmm. So our answer to problem number one is we started a staffing company called Sober and Serene Enterprises.
Okay.
And I went out and I got corporate partners who would hire these people who are in early recovery on the premise that if they worked for us for 6 months, that these companies would do a direct hire.
Wow.
So we've employed over 300 individuals in the last 3 years, with about 60% of those individuals going on to be direct hires at these different organizations. The next thing was, these guys need to know how to get back and forth to work or have to have a way. So we just started buying old raggedy vans that were $4,000 a piece. And we made sure that people got back and forth to work. And then what we did is we created a 6-month curriculum for people. It starts with job readiness programming. We do an hour of programming in the house every day, and then we do an hour of 12-step work every day. So with that curriculum, we started with the first 2 weeks as job readiness. We do the do's and don'ts of interviewing. We do some resume building. We do workplace safety, workplace etiquette. And then it moves more into some PTSD stuff, some CBD stuff like seeking safety, recovery dynamics, and then some Gorski's relapse prevention stuff. So guys are with us for 6 months in that vocational rehabilitation program. And while they're there, we get them connected with Redstone Federal Credit Union to get savings and checking accounts set back up where they haven't had them in years.
Yeah.
We make sure they're good with the courts. They're caught up on their child support, fines, things like that. And then they have the opportunity to save money while they're there and graduate with a full-time job. We pay around $17 an hour at most of our positions, and they get a raise to $24 an hour overnight once they do a direct hire. So
you're giving not a handout, it's a hand up, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So, Justin, so you're seeing all this happen real time. So again, you're doing all this, and he's got, what did his mouth look like when all this is happening? Have you came in the picture yet when he's doing this?
So I didn't really come into Troy's life until probably a year and a half, maybe almost 2 years ago. And when I saw Troy and what he was dealing with for his dental work would be, they were all grounded down. There was a lot of infection. There was the typical of what we see. So to kind of go back, I know I explained it a little bit in the beginning, but what we did is I went to work for an implant company as a business development manager and a territory manager for Tennessee. And I've been in the dental industry almost 11 years now. So I owned a business before, and then I got out and went straight into dental. I worked for the equivalent of like Nike for dental, Dentsply Sirona. They sold all products. All of my experience came from, first selling hand pieces, the stuff that cuts teeth, enamel, shapes teeth. And then I got into the business side where they would send me out and I would actually build offices, general practitioners' offices from the ground up with all of Dentsply Sirona's technology within the structure. And so I gained a lot of knowledge. I gained a lot of, infrastructure knowledge. And then I went to work for a company called W&H, and they specialize in surgery equipment. So I sponsored and took care of 300 dental courses a year. So all of my expertise and all of my knowledge came from what I had learned professionally. Once I left W&H, unfortunately, it was during my bottom. On July 16th, 21, I was arrested, put in jail, and I walked out 10 days later, homeless, wifeless, dogless, carless.
So you lost everything.
Everything that I thought was mine was no longer.
How long had you been an addict at that point?
Since I was 13.
Holy cow.
So
how old were you now at this point?
I was 37.
37.
Yeah.
My math ain't very good, but let's just say it's a long time.
It's a long time. And that's not a special story. That's that's typical in the rooms of AA and NA. You know, my problem is I want more. It's not a drug. It's not a drink. It's more. And I don't want to feel the things that I'm feeling. So I'm gonna fill myself up to make myself feel better, whatever it is.
Right.
A lot of my friends that are watching this knows that's the truth. And it took 37 years to really understand the pain that I was in, you know, and it had a lot to do with my childhood and how I was raised. You know, I have a pretty wild family tree. I just found out I have a cousin that lives in North Carolina that we just got teeth, and my grandmother had an affair at 63 years ago that affected me. So there's a lot of different things that have happened in my life that I don't look at and go, you know, this is why I am who I am. No, they happen to me. I'm not a special case by any means. I've just learned the principles that I was taught.
Yeah.
When I hit my bottom, that was it. I got to watch my grandfather has 40 years of sobriety. So I watched him go to AA every day, my entire life. My best friend, Jordan, picked up 16 years. So he got sober early. You know, they say that, you know, the things that bring you in the rooms are, you know, your law, lover, or lawyer.
Right.
The judges know that this thing works. The programs know that this works. The problem is that it's not all unified. And I think that that's what Troy's bringing, and that's what we're bringing as an organization. We are the last stop club. You know, I've got, you know, 3 types of patients that we see. You know, in April of 23, we were seeing single extraction patients that were just in pain that we wanted to help get out of pain. Okay. Then we graduated to overdentures. That means that a person has dentures and is not comfortable eating or smiling or even wearing the denture because it's flopping all over the place. And so we help them get an overdenture. That means we're going to put 2 implants up here and give you some stability. And you can continue smoking or doing whatever you want to do. The third type of patient is that last stop. And that's where Troy comes into the picture. Troy was patient number 1 on December 8th, 24.
Wow.
I remember that. That's when all of our lives changed.
How bad was it when he came in there? Just
It's pretty bad. He had a lot of infection. I mean, he had ground his teeth down so far almost to the root tip.
wow.
So it was causing him pain. I don't know how he was chewing food or living before then, but his life today has completely changed when it comes to his dental health and his ability to smile. I kind of joke with him, you know, I sent him a video a couple of months back, and it was about a minute long, and I really felt like no one had ever taught him how to smile. I sent him a 60-second video on how to smile. I said, dude, you got to pull from here, cheeks up, let them babies fly.
That's right. That's right.
So in December, he was patient number 1. He's gone through a year-long recovery. The surgery, Nick, is the easy part.
Okay.
And it's not the easy part. The surgeons are trying to navigate bone, you know, the biology of the bone, where to place, how to place, and then teaching someone else. So the problem that I found was that we were not giving enough away to the public that were suffering from all of this. And B, my industry was taxing doctors thousands and thousands of dollars just to learn how to do these techniques and how to place these types of implants and how to take someone's teeth out in one day and create a smile in the same day. So our typical surgery lasts, you know, anywhere from 4 to 6 hours. And then we have everything digital. We have about $5 million worth of machinery inside our building that builds the smile.
Gotcha.
All right. Dr. Pryor is the hero here. He's not here in the building, but that man has given just to our organization about $3 million of his time and money without any return. See, we haven't taken any donations. We haven't taken anything.
Self-funded.
Very much so.
Wow.
No grants, no federal, no nothing. It's been self-funded by our own doctors asking for nothing in return.
Man.
To this date, we've done $5 million in free smiles or more. We operate in 2 cities, in Lebanon, Tennessee, where we were founded, and in Knoxville, Tennessee, where Dr. Jody Griffin practices out of.
Mm-hmm.
So Dr. Jody Griffin is one of the first implantologists that went and taught 20 to 30 years ago around the country. So he would actually travel and go teach other doctors how to place their very first implant. So we don't just have, Chuck in a truck putting implants in. We have the very top doctors on this board of directors teaching and helping other doctors become better dentists and be able to take this back to their communities. Another thing that we found was that, there's a problem in Nashville, and I'm just going to say it the way it is and the way that I'm kind of disappointed in. When there's nonprofits that, like Troy, will receive a patient that comes in and has a tooth pain, or a judge today calls me up and says, hey, so-and-so has a busted tooth. He's in a lot of pain. Can you get him in? So as I'm standing in the shower about a month and a half ago, I said, you know what? I'm gonna create something. It's called the Pain Train.
The Hitstreak is powered by our partners at HitLab Creative Studios. Whether it's launching your brand new podcast, rebranding your current podcast, or taking advantage of any of their other content packages specifically for your social media needs, the HitLab is a one-stop shop for you. Visit hitlabstudio.com for more. What is the Pain Train?
The Pain Train is a group of 20 doctors in Nashville, 20 dentists in Nashville, that when Helping Hands or NAHT or Hustle Recovery or any of the other smaller nonprofits that have, really strict budgets and that can't afford to pay for their patients' dental work, they send them to us. And I just go down the list. And today, Dr. Pryor could see one of the judges from Wilson County sent us a patient, Cody. And, I'm not breaking HIPAA. You don't know who Cody is. But Cody's in pain. I called him up and he could barely talk. Dr. Pryor's in dual arch surgery. And I said, can you see him today? He said, absolutely. So they are our top priority, because we know that if we don't get that tooth extracted and get them help and get antibiotics flowing, where are they going to go to find relief?
Sure. That's right. Yeah. That's right. So big shout out to Big Vinny for connecting all of us and making this happen, right?
Yeah.
So like I said before, anytime Big Vinny, well, he carries weight around here. There's no pun intended on that, right?
He's awesome.
He is awesome. And Big Vinny, when he was in here last, he said, Nick, I got a story that you got to help tell. You got to help bring it out. And man, Vinny, thank you, baby. All right, so we have another common thread in Dr. Stephen.
Stephen Lloyd.
Stephen Lloyd, Dr. Stephen Lloyd, previous guest on the Hit Streak, good friend, and he'll be coming back in this year in 2025. Talk to me a little bit about how you guys are connected with him. And I know him from the National Prayer Breakfast, right? I see him every year in February. We hang out, we do some stuff, and if we can help, we do it. He's just an awesome guy, like the best ever. So talk to me about Stephen. Who wants to go first? Talk to me about Stephen. Go ahead,
I will.
Troy.
I actually met Dr. Lloyd a couple of years ago at an AA meeting. A good friend of ours, Sam McMaster. I was putting chairs up, and Sam walks by and he says, "Hey, Stephen, meet Troy." And he walks off, and we're just standing there awkwardly. And Stephen says,
"Great wingman."
That's Sam. That's Sam.
He's like,
he's a connector.
Why does he want me to meet you? And I was like, I don't know. I do this little thing called Hustle Recovery. And he was like, tell me more. So I kind of start telling him what it is we do, and we move outside to the parking lot because everybody's leaving. And he asked me, well, I kind of tell him what I do, and as Sam is leaving, he says, "Hey, Doc, what he did is he created a navigation system, and he didn't realize that he had done it." And Doc says, "Yeah, that's kind of what I'm gathering." And it kind of, at that point in time, I was completely against MAT. I made a stance that we would never allow Suboxone or anything of the such into one of our houses. That night, I have to say, Dr. Lloyd changed my mind. We had actually started arguing about it And back then I had a lot of good comebacks really quick. I had a really big ego at the time. I'd practiced this argument several times, so I was ready for it. But the way he ended that argument with me was he said, damn it, Troy, we have to keep these people alive long enough to find what you found in recovery.
Yeah,
we
you can't save them if they're not here.
That's what he said. You can't treat dead people.
Mm.
And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't have a comeback for that one.
There still ain't one.
Because he was right. You know, no matter what my opinion was at the time of this medication, it does save lives.
Mm.
I'd had a bad experience myself with Suboxone because I didn't have a good doctor.
Right.
And that's something that I came to realize later on. And that's why I was totally against it. But I can say since in the last 2 years, since we've allowed the medication in our program, I've seen a real change in people.
That's great.
I've seen a lot of people stay alive long enough to find what I found in recovery.
Man.
And then I'll just call him out a little bit. He left that conversation because you got to remember, I have no clue this guy's a doctor. All I knew is his name was Steven. I had no clue who he was. And he walks away from the conversation saying, just Google me.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I remember thinking, well, that's a kind of a cocky move. You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean Google me? Well, I did on the way home. And then, the first thing that comes up is that he was involved with Dope Sick, the docuseries on Hulu, and then
literally Batman played him.
Yep. Yeah. Batman played him, exactly. And then the big thing was I realized this guy broke the laws on MAT in the state of Tennessee. And it was one of those moments for me where I was like, you need to find your humility again.
Mm-hmm.
Let's put away ego. You literally just argued in a parking lot for 2 hours with like the top authority on this subject.
Yeah.
But from that was born a great friendship. You spoke about the prayer breakfast. I was actually his guest last year.
Yep.
Me and my better half, Miss Kimberly Ryan, last year for the prayer breakfast, and I'd never been to anything like that before. It was a very inspirational event.
You leave with hope, don't you?
Yes, you do leave with hope. I met a lot of good people there that day. Got to spend a lot of time with some people here, the delegation that we had from Tennessee. And since then, Dr. Lloyd has came on as our medical director because we last year we were able to open up a treatment center out in Ashland City. And he came on as my medical director, and then he stepped on our board of directors.
Wow.
And just been a great friend.
Mm.
He's somebody that I call every day if I need someone to talk to. He does the same with me. I find a reason just about every day to try to talk to Dr. Lloyd.
100%. 100%.
He's salt of the earth, man. One of the best people I've ever met in my life. I love him.
I was talking to him a little bit when we were at the in DC earlier this year, and I just asked him, because the day that he was here for to be a guest on the podcast, he was about 30 minutes late getting here, but he was on time in the parking lot. He was literally sitting in the car, and one of his patients had just taken their life.
Yeah.
And he had to deal with that and process it, and then had to come in here and be Dr. Stephen Lloyd. And I asked him, that always stuck with me. And I asked him when we were in DC, I was like, dude, the weight on your shoulders has just got to be heavy. Because I as a guy that's been, my addictions that I came were not substance abuse. It was literally just like my addictions were just weak and personal and like just nothing. Like I had so much growing up to do. And I remember the weight that I felt on my shoulders, just owning my own family. And you guys are not only owning yours, but the families of all these addicts. Yeah. And I just asked him, I was like, dude, it's got to be like, I can't imagine. It's the weight that you feel, and you still got to go home and be who you got to be to your family. So it's like, not only is it God's work, but like, dude, it's extremely heavy, and I'm sure you feel a lot of that same way. Yeah, how do you deal with it?
I'm still working on that, to be honest. I had some good friends of mine do an intervention on me at 4 years clean last year.
Well, I mean, it's like they say on the airplane, you can't save somebody if you're passed out on the floor. You got to serve yourself enough to be healthy enough to provide.
Yep.
Right. And I guess at that point, I hadn't taken a day off in over a year. Two guys who I really care about and think a lot of sat down with me and made a whole list of things I needed to do in my life. Things all the way from things I needed to do in business to things I needed to do with my health, to things that I needed to do in my relationships. One of them was get a therapist. You know, I'd been through the 12 steps in AA and NA twice. I guess I thought I was fixed, even though I preach to people all the time that this is something you got to battle every day. For the first time in my life, I started seeing a therapist.
Okay.
I had to take on a life coach, an amazing guy, Mr. Jim Murphy. He's the head of Reach United, somebody who helps me through all my business stuff, because coming into the role of CEO was something that was really difficult for me at first. I remember going to one of my graduations that we have every month and looking across the room and realizing I didn't know a lot of the clients that were there. And it bothered me for a while, because from the day one of this, I've been so involved one-on-one with every client that I've had.
Right.
And as we've grown, there's just not enough hours in the day for me
Correct.
to know 110 people.
The scale factor is truly difficult.
And you know, it was difficult for me to deal with it because I started questioning myself, as we do as addicts. You know, we use because we don't feel good about ourselves to start with.
Okay.
So we struggle with things like that. And that was one of my struggles, was like, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? How come I don't know these people? So I had to get a life coach to really help me realize what my role was as CEO. And he's helped me through a lot. I'm actually going to be in DC next week, and we'll be meeting face to face. We usually do it over Zoom. I'm meeting with him and Dr. Samuels to have dinner on Tuesday night. But this has been such a process for me. Leading an organization as big as we have, you know, I started out with $1,500 doing this out of the back seat of my car.
Right.
Today I have doctors who work for me and licensed therapists and 12 different properties, and we've been able to pour into over 5,000 people in just a few years. So it gets heavy. It definitely does.
Well, when you're doing the right thing, you attract
Right.
what you need, right? And that's so. Again, you didn't probably seek out those doctors. They probably maybe you met them, but they saw what you were doing and like, we got to be a part of this.
That's
you know?
exactly right.
So it's so that's how you know you're doing the right things. But like again, you know, there was about 7 or 8 years of my life where professionally, to get where we're at, I had to work with some people that weren't good for me.
Yeah.
And after 8 years, it probably took me. It was like PTSD a little bit, where like I had changed and didn't even realize it, and it took me a while to get back. So I want people to understand how, like they say, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? Yeah. Well, dude, you were putting yourself in a really, really could be toxic situation because you weren't hanging out with those doctors and those people all the time. You're hanging out with the addicts, and you had to be very secure in your recovery to do that, and like. And disciplined, and like, you know, kudos to that DA, because the DA knew you were working with those people, and if you were going to fall, if like you weren't going to relapse probably by yourself, somebody's going to have to give it to you or be a part of that process. You know what I mean?
I kind of want to jump in there.
Let's go,
because I want to explain something about, you know, when we are being of service to another person that's afflicted with what we're afflicted with, it's not about putting ourselves in the lion's den. It's about meeting that person where they're at and understanding that we've been there before and that we know what you're going through. And there's a lot of accountability in there. It's not about It's not about what I was raised on and that I had to push through something or I had to overcome something. It's not about overcoming. It's not about the running through walls to get something done. That's how I was raised.
Yeah.
And that didn't work.
Okay.
Not for me. But when somebody comes in those rooms or shows up to Troy's doorstep, the hope is in, hey, I know exactly what you're going through. I know exactly what's going to happen in court tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I know that court system does not need to know you for the next 8 months because that's going to take time with me. That's going to take time with going to meetings, learning the different vocabulary, and ultimately changing your life and realizing that it's not about you. And we teach them that. And that's the number one thing. When we come in there, we're the number one most selfish people in our own world. And that's why we use, that's why we drink. That's why we go get what we want when we want it. So it's not about overcoming it. It's not about putting, I feel more comfortable in a jail talking to 30 inmates than I do in this podcast right now. So I just the stigma is we got to press. That's what probably caused most of my issues was the performance.
Well, pressure really don't exist, right?
Yeah.
It's self-inflicted.
Right, exactly. And I was performing my whole life for other people. I cared too much what people thought of me. And now I live and I believe that other people's opinion is none of my business. And you're up 4-1 on the hits.
Let's go. He's keeping track, baby. I knew he was an analytics guy. That's right. The Hit Streak is powered by Team Hyder. Team Hyder has been serving you for 11 years and has racked up over 20 national and local awards for excellence in all areas. When it comes to finding the right health plan, we need to consider your family's needs and your family's budget. That's what we do to serve you. To look further and to book an appointment, visit teamhyder.com. Well, so this is, I should have known this, didn't. Justin, one of the stories you shared with me back in the back was when you had a relapse in a former life. Rhea and I owned and operated nightclubs and restaurants.
Yeah.
And,
so I'm walking in Nick Hyder's hit streak here and actually overdosed 22 years ago in his bar while he's DJing.
I didn't know that. I had no idea.
So that just shows you the streak that I was on, and it wasn't a winning streak. I didn't even get a tag on that one. You were getting them all over there.
There you go.
42. But no, I want to say this. I don't know. I've never met Stephen Lloyd, but I am within his circle because of this dude.
That's right.
Everybody that he's come into contact with that's helped him and his organization has come alongside of us and really has invested their time, their money, and their efforts into helping us grow. And our next stops are going to be places like Vermont, Ohio, Texas, Arizona, and Kentucky, and Florida. Those are our next, that's kind of our growth path. That's where we want to go. I'm a huge fan of Dr. Lloyd and what he does. I think he knows my name by today. I think Troy has talked about us and I'm a big fan because of what he's done to help organize all of this, because there's money and there's politics that go into all of the money that Purdue Pharma is paying out over the next 18 years. How does it get to the street?
Right.
And we had a guest from Washington, D.C. He pretty much reports to Jim Murphy, who then reports to the White House and these folks. He came to our course and at the end of January and he said, Justin, I can see the money hitting the street with your program. I can see, and the fact that we haven't taken any money to do this, he's like, it's incredible.
Yeah.
That we just created this thing. And what's cool about our program, it's not only just helping them, we're not taking care of their problems. Nick, what we're doing is we have accountability in our system too. You have to be sober for a year.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two is you have to agree to never take nicotine into your body again.
Okay.
We have to change the way people were living.
Absolutely.
So they got themselves there by the way they were living. So we're trying to teach different life skills.
Yep.
So once they go through this process, they get their teeth. You think, well, what about the pain? Well, we're partnered with a company called Stella Life, And this was
Amazing
a company
product.
this was a company that was made for addicts like us that have surgery that can't take opioids. Okay. You can go and look it up. I'm not going to go too in depth with that, but they're a huge partner of ours. They send us free product every course.
Wow.
So when our patients leave, they're on a regimen. Stella Life, 800 milligrams of ibuprofen, and then 1 hour later, 1,000 milligrams of Tylenol. It's an old military trick that, Dr. Pryor, he used to work on Navy SEALs, plugging them with blood stop. And it's crazy the stories he's got. But we're taking the technology and everything that we have to be able to impact a better community.
Okay.
It doesn't end there. We have a partner, Jessica Lewis, who is on our board of directors, who runs a dental assistant academy called Competitive Edge Dental Academy.
Okay.
Dental Assisting Academy. It's called CETA. And so let's just take a patient, for example, comes out of treatment, goes to detox, goes to long-term care, ends up at Troy's place. Troy brings them over to get our teeth. So we're about 18 months in, right? They go through the treatment of getting their teeth. We're at about 20 months, 24 months sober. What we have is we have a program that after they get their teeth, they have an option. They can go and get a career. We will sponsor them for $6,400 to be a part of a dental academy that is going to teach them. Our locations are in Lebanon, Knoxville, Wartburg. Shout out to Wartburg. And we're also opening in Memphis. So we're trying to expand this throughout Tennessee, creating a template, not just giving them their teeth and fixing their problems, but we want to be able to impact their lives too. Say you got an introvert patient. There's another kind of veer off to the side here. If you don't want to deal with patients and you don't want to go into dental assisting, we have a lab that will teach you how to be a dental tech and build teeth and smiles. So we've really closed the loop on trying to help people not only change their life, but to impact them after the treatment. And we know that the closer they are to the recovery community, the longer they're going to stay sober.
Absolutely.
The recovery community on average is about a 4 to 6% success rate. Since we've been doing this, we've been collecting data. We've got a 98% success rate with our patients not relapsing.
Okay.
So it's a huge part of this. They don't have to look at themselves in the mirror and think about the past. They're not in pain, which is going to threaten them to go to the street and find something to ease that pain. And they're going to feel better and they're going to eat better, because there's about a $2 billion problem in the United States right now with non-emergency hospital visits. And it's from those patients. They're not able to chew their food. So what do they have? They have GERD. They have a lot of pain. They're showing up looking for some sort of resolve.
Right.
And they can't find it. So that's what we're doing.
It's awesome.
There's a lot more stories in there. We do have a vetting system. I've had 3 Marys come into my life, and they're angels over the past year and a half. The human trafficking girls we take care of. The girls coming out of prison we take care of. I drive them, some of them, personally to their appointments, and they don't even know who I am.
Right.
One of them found out, and she was like, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah.
And it really kind of freaked her out, but she understood, like, it's the next man down, like whoever needs to serve, whoever needs to bring, somebody to their place to be able to get treatment.
Right.
So
let me ask you this. How do you, if let's say, I got a family member that is on the way up, how do they apply to get into this program right here?
Yeah. So we've created a system where you go to our website, smilesforrecovery.org, and there's 2 buttons on the very front page. It says doctor inquiry, patient inquiry. You fill that out. And we do have to vet you.
Absolutely.
You must have a sponsor. If you answer no to that, you're probably not going to hear from us.
Yeah.
Because we need you to have accountability. The 8th question is the question that keeps me up every night. I have 852 active patients right now, and 740 of them are in pain. Every night about midnight, my email goes off, and that's another person in pain. So you were talking about, how do you not take this home? I worry about those guys because I know where they're at, and I know what their solution is today. And that's to go find something that is not good for them.
Right.
So fill the application out. Someone will contact you to say, hey, we've received your application. And then we go through the vetting process.
Yep.
It's a long list. And
Sure.
some of them are pain patients. Some of them are denture patients. Some of them are full arch. Some of them don't have the right time, sober time to be qualified. So we have to wait for that. I've got some people that just got their teeth that have been waiting a whole year, and I said, call me on March 1st. Dude's calling me tomorrow. I guarantee it.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
That's right.
So,
All right. And let me ask you guys, for any other people that want to step up and pitch in or get involved, what are y'all's needs? And quite honestly, what can we do? Troy, what are your needs and what can we do, man?
So we're always looking for people at Hustle Recovery just to come out and volunteer, just to love on people, man. These people need to know that there is life after addiction. We just need people that can come out and just kind of be with them.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Just come hang out. I know both organizations, we have golf tournaments coming up this summer. Y'all's is in June, mine's in July.
yeah. We have a celebrity golf tournament June 9th.
Gotcha. So I won't be allowed at that one then.
You'll be
understand.
there.
You can come to mine. You can support that way. There's also places on our websites where people can donate.
Yeah.
I know my organization, Hustle Recovery, has Amazon wish list that's out there on social media,
Okay.
which is things like hygiene products, sheets and pillows, things like that. Just the basic necessities. I get people fresh out of addiction. So usually they've lost everything.
Yeah.
It's what we call the gift of desperation. Believe it or not, it's actually a gift. But when they come to me, they don't have anything. So we have to rebuild
Sure.
from nothing. And then a year in, once they're doing pretty good is when I bring them over to Justin.
Yeah.
So
So what do you guys need, Justin?
I've operated the past 18 months on a $10,000 budget a month. That's it. And I just quit my job January 31st. The board voted for me to take this on as vice president and to expand this. And, since then I've been in conversations with
you called me.
your people and some people that are really going to impact us in a great way. And we have a template and we have a model. And there's a lot of people that believe in what we're doing. And if you want to give, you can go to the same website, smilesforrecovery.org. It does help. And we are a 501c3. So you get your money back. For all you folks that don't understand that, if you want to come and you're a doctor and you want to train, you get a 70-30 split. We've worked it out. We've got a tax attorney on our team. You come and learn for free, and then you get 70% of your money, whatever you give. And it's not a pay-to-play thing. You can come and learn and not give a dime. We need your hands because there's that many people in pain in Tennessee.
Man. So
4-4, baby.
that's right. That's right. That's right. I need a scoreboard behind me, don't
You
I?
really
I need a
do.
Scoreboard. That's right.
I'm
So
down.
excuse me. Well, again, thanks, Big Vinny, for this is unreal, and I just wanted to make sure that the story of what you guys are overcoming is so important because the people that you help have to overcome the obstacle that seems unovercomable. You know what I mean? Like it seems impossible. Like but I also know that when you're growing these things, like you have to ask for help. You have to be around the right people when that happens. A lot of times the stars have to align a certain way, and you guys have been doing it. Like even there's a company that I'm involved in right now where we're reorganizing, and I used to get almost scared during those things because it's like we're making some big changes, and that means there's going to be those changes going to bring some issues along with them. That's why they call them growing pains. It hurts a little bit, So the cool thing is you are running the same journey that all the people you help are running. It's just in a different platform now. It's business. It's nonprofit growth. It's all those things. It's figuring out getting those doctors involved and so on and so forth, and making sure that hey man, if you don't have this, we got this. We got the tax attorney. It's all those things. It's overcoming all those obstacles in the way that are going to come, And as long as the people that you're helping can see you doing it too, that's extremely powerful, man. You know, that's so powerful. So, well, as we bring the sucker to a close, any final words from each of you? I mean, who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
You're going to save the best for last?
Troy can close it out.
There you go.
You know, a lot of people didn't understand when we started this, how we started it. And I just want you to know that no matter what, regardless of what nonprofit you're in Nashville, this man to my right taught me that, there is no competition in helping people, and we just want to be helpful. And we don't want to come in and change any rules or change any laws or be impactful in a negative way, which a lot of times when a new nonprofit comes in to town, they get some sort of reputation. And what we want to do is want to bring good to a community that really needs it. And the people that are hurting in the streets, that's who really needs it. And the money is, something that will end up making it to the street with representation of organizations like Troy's and mine, that people can actually see the funding go to a person. And that's what we're trying to change.
The only point that I want to get across with all this is that recovery is possible. No matter what it is that you're going through today, there is help available out there. There are people like me and Justin and so many other people that are involved in these different organizations, not just ours, but so many great ones in the Tennessee area. You don't have to go through anything alone. All you have to do is reach out. There's somebody on one of our teams that's been through what you're going through today that can help you walk through that. So,
and asking for help is a skill. And it's funny too, because we all have it. We've all went and asked mom or dad for something and they said no, we went and asked the other one.
yeah.
So if you're getting told no, you're just not asking the right people.
That's right.
You got to keep asking. If you need help, you need help.
I'm a little fired up. What I want to say is that there is help out there, that no matter who you are, if you're in pain, if you're a recovery patient, if you're a vet, if you're anybody that wants or needs help from us, reach out on the website, fill the application out. We will get to you. I know that there's some people on that list that have been waiting, but some of you still don't qualify. I'll reach out and explain why. And that's being done over the next couple of days. So
that's awesome.
Thank you guys.
Absolutely.
The Hitstreak is powered by Rack Financial. When it comes to your credit card merchant processing, Rack Financial is efficient, reliable, and trusted. At the end of the day, when it comes to processing your credit card payments, they make it simple, the way it's supposed to be. Check out Rack Financial.
Like, fellas, again, I'm blown away. I kind of knew I would be. I always do a lot of research on this stuff. And when Vinny told me these things, I was like, sometimes hearing it for the first time when everybody else is hearing it with me is really cool. So I left a lot of things, let's just say unknown a little bit. You know what I mean? But like, fellas, I'm blown away. And thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for the time today. Because I know it's valuable, and the one thing that
thank you for having us.
Oh man, this is a blast.
This is amazing.
Absolutely,
Whoever gets to come here is pretty awesome.
I'm so excited about you guys getting your hands on the footage, getting your hands on all the digital assets and everything else, and being able to use those. These like at the end of the day, this show is website material for you. You know what I mean? It's awesome. I'm telling you, it literally, for you guys especially, will be life changing. Not your life, but somebody whose life needs changing.
Correct. Right.
So, folks, once again, Troy Sandifer, the founder and CEO of Hustle Recovery, hustlerecovery.org, at Instagram, at troy.sandifer.7, at Hustle Recovery. And Justin Lowry, the co-founder of Smiles for Recovery, smilesforrecovery.org, on Instagram, at Smiles for Recovery. Fellas, thank you, man. This is awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nick.
Well, folks, thanks again for tuning in to another episode of The Hit Streak. I'm your man, Nick Hyder. God bless.